And it is December 3rd, time for our Coach's Corner calls. What do we call these? Coach's Corner calls. Zoom calls. Anyway, we have just a quick agenda that we want to do. Claudia has a personal development topic that she wanted to discuss. And then, as promised, we wanted to talk about taxes, the implications, some of the business-related considerations for being a TSFL coach. So I have some notes and would love to have input from the rest of you as we go as well. So Claudia, take it away and welcome, Sheila.
Yes.
Glad you're here.
So I was reading in this book, and some of you guys will recognize it as the guy who's going to be speaking at the Fisk family reunion deal that's at the end of February. It's called Today I Begin a New Life by Dave Blanchard. Anyway, I was just thinking about how I have been with Take Shape for Life for the 5 years that I've been a coach. I am just a really obedient person, and they tell me what to do and I just do it. And I work hard and I just keep doing it. And I think before I make a call, I think, okay, what do I have to say? You know, I feel like I'm just so guided. I know what, I just follow the script. But sometimes it strangles you, you know, that you are so tied to it that you're afraid, I'm talking about myself, afraid to veer from it, that it won't work, or you know, anyway, it has a tendency to keep me from being myself and just being the coach I am. Anyway, there's a quote in here that I just really liked, and he talks about goal setting. And he says, it's not hardcore goal setting. He said, that just sounds hard. He says, it's dreaming with meaning and purpose and with a focus on creation. And this creation is coming from within you. We want to engage in a process that ignites the passion that will drive our action. And so the idea is to become passionate about this. What are you excited about? Who do you want to tell? What are you going to say? It's after that. So that something inside of you wants to share it. And so, and I know that well, but this is what I really liked. It says, this makes the work of creation joyful, doable, and sustainable. If a person has passion, they don't need to have someone telling them what to do. They don't have to have a script. They don't know, I mean, we use those scripts and they're great, but I hope you know what I'm saying. At some point, it's you creating your own business. They don't need someone telling them what to do. They can and will figure it out. So that's my cool thing from this book that I just thought, yeah, that's exactly right. When you have the passion and the desire, you figure it out. You figure it out and it's great. So did that make sense?
It did. Okay. Did to me.
All right. So I'm turning it back to you.
Well, and I am sure that there are people on this screen of ours that have experienced that. You know, the joy of feeling passion in the work that you're doing. And I think that that's where we get our best results.
So there's that Debbie. She didn't have a script, and she won the national challenge.
That's right.
I know. She rocks.
Yeah.
That is very cool. Claudia will be right back. We have some family here, and so this just shows, this is an example of how to do the business when your family is here. So she's going to be away for a minute. Okay, let us talk about the next item on the agenda, and that is, we had called it the general idea of taxes. But I think in addition to that, maybe even start ahead of the taxes. And I have a couple of pages of talking points here that I came up with today. And as we go along, I'd be happy to get your feedback and things that you have learned yourselves, because I'm certainly not the last word on this. But as I look back and to remember how we started our business and some things that we've learned along the way, some of these things you'll find from material that came in the coach's kit, if you remember. That was a long time ago for some of you, more recent for others. But there were some guidelines that came in the blueprint and in the materials that you got from Take Shape for Life when you got your coach's kit. So some of these are not new items. There's a recommendation, and it really makes sense in the experience that Claudia and I have had, to set up a separate bank account for your Take Shape for Life business. That's been a good thing for us to keep, when it comes to be tax time and other times, then it's really great to have the expenses that you incur and the revenue that you receive going to a separate bank account, so that you're not commingling things with your personal endeavors, with your personal money coming in and going out. Also, we signed up for a separate credit card because a credit card is a real simplified way of buying things that you need. And so we do that as best as we can. And, sometimes that gets a little complicated if you're at Sam's and some of the things that you're buying are, for the business and other things not for the business, or maybe they don't take the card that you have at all. And so you have to, a couple of years ago, we engaged a trusted CPA friend, somebody that I used to work with. And she said that if you have instances like that where you find that the company, that you've done something so that the company paid for a personal expense or vice versa, then it's a good thing to actually prepare an invoice to have the other entity pay back. For instance, if you put a bunch of things at Sam's onto your personal credit card, and some of those things really should have been on your company credit card, then you could actually invoice the other entity and really regard it as an arm's length transaction like that.
So you make sure there's a paper trail then. So
right.
If you ever get audited, you can show what it was.
Exactly.
Okay.
And I think that especially becomes more important the bigger we get and so forth. But it's a good habit to practice. And we haven't been 100% on that, I would have to say, because, that takes some extra discipline. But that is, I think, a good rule of thumb to work on. And let me mention the friend that we have who is a CPA. I've known her for a long, long time. In fact, I used to work at a CPA firm with her. I'm a CPA too, but it's been a long time since I practiced as a CPA. And I was more than happy to become a client of hers, because she works day in and day out in the business and consults with clients large and small. Welcome, Karen.
Hi.
And so she had some great perspectives, and we really find that it has been worth the money to have her helping us. In fact, in the beginning, she thought it was crazy that we were paying her to do some things that I could do myself. And I said, with what time I have for Take Shape for Life, I would rather use my passion building the business rather than doing all of the payroll taxes and that sort of thing. So not to say that you must, because you certainly don't have to. But we've certainly appreciated having that connection. I have a few bullet points of some things that we talked about with our CPA, not necessarily at the beginning, but it's been through the years that we have. It's a nice thing to discuss with a CPA what kind of business entity you ought to choose for yourself. We chose to be organized as a limited liability corporation, or an LLC, and maybe you've heard of that kind of business entity. And so we are Lean On Me USA LLC is the official name of our business. And Claudia is the president. So
whatever.
That's pretty cool. And also something that we changed midstream is that we bought a separate computer system to keep track of our revenues and expenses. We had put everything onto a Quicken because I'd used that for years for our personal expenses. But she really encouraged us to buy QuickBooks, which is a step up. It's business related, and you may have heard of that one. There are certainly other kinds as well. But it's been nice for us to keep better track of things on a business-related computer software. That's something you could discuss with someone. Also, along the way, we wanted to have an infusion of some of our business money into our personal account to cover some of our expenses. And so she encouraged us to do that in the form of giving a paycheck to Claudia. And, someone may advise you in another way, depending upon your circumstances. But every month, Claudia writes a check from our business account to our personal account. We deposit it. And at the same time, I need to remember that within a certain period of time, before the 17th of the following month is what it is in our case, that I also need to transfer funds to pay for our payroll taxes, which our CPA helped us calculate those. Because if you don't, there will come a sad day where you'll realize that you owe lots of money, and you may even be accused of not paying things that you really should have done, because it's a business. And if a business doesn't electronically send its portion of the payroll taxes, then it gets in trouble. And then there's the matter of preparing quarterly payroll taxes. You need to do that. And so this is where I love to pay my friend to do this, because you have to report. You have reports for the federal income tax and FICA, that's the Social Security and so forth. Federal unemployment, state income tax. I mean, we have just one employee that we write a paycheck for, but it turns out to be some work, and you can get in trouble if you don't keep up on that. So, not to scare you to death, but they are some things, if you haven't thought of already, that you may want to consider. There's a lot you can do to read and to Google and so forth to get answers to your questions, or feel free to call Claudia and me sometime. If we'll do our best not to steer you astray, but we'll also not give you guidance if we aren't clear on it. We'd maybe encourage you to go to our friend, and she's great.
How soon do they need to worry about setting up a business? I mean,
we didn't do it right away.
Because you need to make how much a year before you need to start, because you can pay self-employment tax just once a year when you pay your taxes.
Right, and that's
unless it's a certain amount, and I can't remember.
And I'm not sure I can tell you that either, because that's if you're a sole proprietorship and you're doing it on your individual 1040 tax return as a Schedule C, it's called, for a business or a farm or something. I don't know that answer exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
There are some advantages to being, especially later on when you're making some good money, to being an LLC, and a CPA would be best. A practicing active CPA would be better informed to tell you what would be good for your situation.
And to set up an LLC, I know there's a fee involved. It's $125 or something like that you have to pay, but it's not like thousands of dollars.
Right.
So.
And it's not really hard to do. It does, you have to attend to some details. It's you have to have a business license. We did that with the state of Utah, and I think that's $15 a year to keep that up, and so that's not much. I suppose we should frame it and put it up in our house, for heaven's sakes. And then my CPA friend was fine. I don't think that we involved an attorney to do the LLC thing, because that part was pretty easy. Just this last year, Claudia and I had been wanting for years, and especially the last couple of years, to do up a trust and a will. We just really wanted to do that, and we finally did that before Kilimanjaro. I wanted to get that taken care of, and that was a nice thing to get taken care of. But that, of course, doesn't need to happen really ever. Just for.
Can I say something as you said, Will? It is something I learned in one of my very first events. Is that this is something, if you build up your business, that you can pass it on in your will to your the people that can inherit your business.
And I've heard that as well.
You. Yeah, your business doesn't die with you. So you build up a business like Claudia and David are doing. They can pass that on to their children. So it's wonderful.
Yeah, it is. And the particular way that we did our trust and will is that you can revise it as you go along, as circumstances change and so forth. And so that's nice too.
David, I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Because you mentioned that you got a business license. Do you have to have a business license to be able to claim a home office?
No, you can do that with the Schedule C, even just a sole proprietorship on your individual tax return.
Okay.
Debbie, I found out though, as you go to open a business checking account, they want your business license number.
Okay.
If you tell them it's a business account. So I didn't have my business license number yet, so I just opened a second personal account that I use as my business account.
And I think that's what we did in the beginning. We had a checking account that we hadn't used for a long time, and so we just used that at first. Mm-hmm. And then, when we decided that we needed to have a business license, a business account, then they asked some different questions, and it was a little harder to get, but it was. I was going to say we've been patients. We've been customers of America First for ages, and so they understood our situation and were great to deal with us. So it wasn't really hard, but they just asked more questions and establishing a line of credit and those sorts of things too for the business. They asked a few more questions. So the next little section here I've called ongoing things to realize, to think about. There are lots of things that you can claim as business expenses along the way, and you want to be careful that you don't go overboard with them. But there are certainly some very justifiable expenses that you incur because you have clients or because you're investing in your business. I just wrote down a few that came to my mind. Whenever you go to a company-sponsored event, that whole thing is deductible for you. I guess if the meals portion is not fully deductible, there are limitations on that on a tax return, but certainly the registration fee when you go to a national convention.
Or even the team exam.
Right, or even the $10 that you'll spend if you go this Saturday to the event in Orem at Utah Valley. That's an expense that you can claim. And, there are lots of little things that you kind of forget unless you keep up on it. If you go out of town, then the cost of airfare is deductible, and maybe you'll need to rent a car or take a taxi or take a shuttle or even pay tips to the shuttle that you take to the airplane from where you park. Those kinds of things are all deductible as well.
Is the hotel as well?
Yes, and thank you. I should put lodging because that is for sure.
And it's fun to have write-offs. Because it means
fun to go. It's fun to go to Orlando and write it off.
Exactly.
But you can't write off the Disney World trip. Sorry.
That's right.
Unless you take a client. Come on.
Oh, if you take a client with you, then you could write it off. Huh?
Or business portion of it or something,
Rob, take Mike. Come on.
That's right.
You guys have a business meeting on some ride.
And something Claudia and I have loved to do is that at least once a year we love to go away and kind of plan our lives, and take a breath. And so much of that is take shape for life, especially these past few years. And so we record that as well as a business expense, because it's kind of a board meeting or a planning meeting. We
plan when we're in the swimming pool.
That's right. Some other things that I was just looking at our tax return to see what categories we've included before. If you have any bank charges or even finance charges from the credit card that you use, you could record those. Referral bonuses that you pay when whatever you're doing there. The cash on account that you have for people's accounts. I record those too. Costs related computer or your internet or telephone. Yes, I do have the telephone there. Those are deductible expenses.
Your cell phone or landline, either one, right?
Yeah, we asked our CPA about that. We said that we have our 2 cell phones, and just November 30th, we cut off the landline that we've had for 24 years. We hated to do it, but the only calls we get anymore are solicitation calls, and
I know, I'm finding this.
And with some changes that we made, we couldn't get messages off, and so we just felt guilty that if people were leaving messages, we didn't know how to get them off. So we finally just gave it up. But our CPA said that with the cell phones, she would just record the entire amount of it, So that has helped. I should say that we have a family plan, and we charge our kids, for their portions, and so that's how we make that part.
But like your own personal, for your
right.
portion of it,
Mm-hmm.
it could be written off, or Claudia's portion.
Absolutely, because we both use our phones a lot. I had a category that showed up on the tax returns as dues and subscriptions. And one thing that includes is our gym memberships, because, we're in the health promotion business, and I think that that's okay. And I've even done some personal training along the way and have recorded that too. So you did curves for a while. Mm-hmm. The promotion of health. Legal and professional is another category for what we pay our CPA to do things, our payroll taxes and tax returns. We talked about meals and entertainment already. That would be not only for your travel when you go to a national convention and so forth, but I quite often, especially when I was working every day, would take a friend or somebody that I hope to make into a client to lunch, and we talk about the program. And so I charge that expense as well. There are office expenses and office supplies, postage, meeting costs. If we had a meeting, we've talked about when we're big enough and we want to rent a nicer space like they do down in Utah County or Salt Lake, then that might be an expense that we would take on as well.
Or if Faveros were charging for their art
mm-hmm.
museum,
that
would be a write-off.
That's right.
Okay, you guys can start paying $50 every time.
All right.
Claudia and David.
Did you see those knuckles come up? I like that. All right.
What about mileage and gas?
Yes, that's coming. I only keep track of gas when it is for a rental car. Otherwise, if it's just using my own car, I keep track of the miles. That gives you a better deduction. And I guess that there may be different ways of handling that, but that's how we've done it. And in fact, something that I do, if Claudia and I are going to a place where we haven't been, whether it's for mileage to visit a client or a prospective client, or to go to an event like Utah Valley, we'll do a map quest, even though I know how to drive there. But doing the map quest from our address to UVU, it'll tell me how many miles there are. So then I'll have that piece of paper that I can record on my spreadsheet.
His documentation.
Yes, because it's important that be written down. And
You Google it from your home in advance and print it out. So
right, just so that, and if I were really up to date, I'd have my spreadsheet that I looked at every night or every week and, just recorded it then. But it's kind of easier than remembering to check your odometer.
Oh, yeah.
When you begin or when you get there, because my brain doesn't remember both ends. But if I just print it out, then I can record it later.
That's smart.
And just a little tip, which I have enjoyed. And you can do that with your different subject, but I sometimes do that with church things as well, or other things that are deductible on another tax return. Something that nearly always comes up, and it's 8:30. I gotta stop. But we're almost done. So thanks for that question, Karen. That's how I do miles anyway. And then another category called supplies. A lot of times people will ask if they can record a portion of their meal replacements. In fact, at first, I kind of was excited. Somebody told us that you could record the entire amount of meal replacements, and I was thinking, wow, that's a huge deduction. But the more we looked into it, it didn't make sense, and I checked with a couple of people, and they said, that's really food, and you wouldn't take your food that you bought at Smith's as a deduction. But if there is a portion, and we've just gone out on a limb from the beginning, we guessed maybe 20% of our meal replacements, maybe a little bit high, but we thought that maybe 20% we'd give away or have at Healthy Habits gatherings or whatever. So we have heard different things, and you can consider what makes sense to you. But our CPA certainly advised us to not record the whole amount, because that would be such a red flag, and it is our food. But I think that you could take a portion of it, depending upon how you personally deal with meal replacements. Any questions? I've taken us to 8:30, and I thought I was talking so fast. I was.
Did you get through everything?
I did.
Okay.
Sheila, I think it was mentioning the home office deduction, and you don't have to have things as crazy recorded there. The tax form that you fill out asks you for what your utilities are, and actually, we record all of our personal expenses onto Quicken, and so I guess I just have it. I know what we pay for utilities and for the other things that are part of that calculation. But that's something that you'll want to know at tax time, just knowing how much you spend for the things that go into that calculation.
And so you do a percentage of your power and stuff. Is like if you say my home office is 10% of my home, then 10%
Right.
power would be tax deductible.
And when you do it yourself on tax forms or on TurboTax, which is what we used to do before we retained this CPA to help us with our tax return, then the form leads you into that. It will, like we calculated that our home office was, 6 feet by 12 feet or whatever it is here. Pretty fancy space that we work out of. And then it's a percentage of that divided by the total square footage of the house. And then all of those other expenses. So that's how it takes that portion into effect, and you just record the total lumps of utilities and stuff. But it leads you through some nice things. You can, I think even just regular supplies, in some respects, you can claim as part of that calculation too.
So I have a question, David. You have said you have 2 pages of notes that you were referring to.
Yeah.
Handwritten, or if they're typed, I'd love you to upload it as a file on Coach's Corner.
Okay. And it is a start. It's a rough draft.
Well, yeah. But
I
that would just give us all something as a little checklist.
I wanted to review it with Claudia even before this call, and because I'm sure that she would have thought of some additional things that I didn't. But.
Yeah, and edit the document, you guys, when you see it, if you think of other things. We'll stick it in there in the documents.
Great.
You guys
Really
are
good
great.
test. Thank you for your help. That was good.
You're welcome. Lots to think about, but it pays. It's really nice to anticipate some of those things before it's too late.
So this is helping you for January. So you can start.
I mean, it's never too late, but
Something Kim Fisk taught on those prezzies, and I don't know if everybody's watched those, but it helped me after the fact. She said, don't live off your Take Shape for Life income. Put it in a separate account. So when it's time for you to go to convention, that money's there. And when it's time for you to pay for taxes, it's there. And so I've just kept it in a separate account, and I bring it over some once in a while, but I try to keep that account there for those expenses, because then you're not feeling like you're dipping into your personal pockets to go to convention.
that is such great counsel. We should tell the little anecdote of Jacob. When Claudia and I first started this business, there was a man, Jacob, that was one of our best friends. He was so vibrant, so energetic, so happy. And you've never seen anybody more passionate about Take Shape for Life in your life. I am not kidding.
Until I met the girl.
That's another story.
Yeah.
But he was just remarkable, just really gregarious and lots of fun. And he made lots of money because he just couldn't help it. Yeah. But then it was time for taxes. And he was in big trouble because he hadn't done any preliminary work, owed lots of money and lots of penalties and fees, you know. Because if you do make lots of money, you should make estimated tax payments quarterly as you go along. And he just hadn't thought about that.
He was having fun.
He had a great time. And apparently he spent a lot of money as well, because his whole life changed. And all we know of Jacob is now as a Facebook friend, and he's still a good guy, but he just left the company because he didn't understand the matter that you had a commitment to the country where you live, and he got into some big trouble. So don't be like Jacob. That was tough.
Yeah. Plus, he got a girlfriend, and I think really
girlfriends do it all the time.
She distracted him. Anyway, anybody have questions? You guys, we've been dominating.
And domineering.
It was very good. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
You guys are fabulous.
Yeah, and let me just put a plug in tonight, and I was going to do this with Rob earlier, but if you guys have coaches under you, or coaches, if you're a coach, everybody should be on the ED2B calls or the high five.
Yes, mine was so good today. I learned so much.
Well, you better write it up for us. Write it in Coach's Corner. Tell us a couple things.
Gosh, this gal was so good. Okay.
Who did you have?
I just lost my...
Rachel and Tracy.
Tracy Root. Oh, my goodness. Talk about... you just need to look up her Facebook page. It's
I've seen it.
Just look up Tracy Root, R-O-O-T, and look at what she's done on Facebook. It's bam, exploding her business.
Yes, she's advertising. She's asking people if they will allow her to tag them. Is that what she's doing on her Facebook?
Oh, she posted a thing. Anyway, just go look at her.
Yeah.
Just go look at her thing. It'll inspire you. You look at what she posted today, but you look what she did a couple of days ago, asking permission to put her basically her Take Shape for Life ad on her friends' pages. So she said, hey, can I ask you a big favor? Will you allow me to put this on your page? If it's okay with you, say yes. And in like a couple of hours, she had 38 people say, yes, 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 you can put it on my page. Man.
Wow, isn't that fun?
And the way she puts it on their page is she just tags them on her picture. She just tags them. And then it goes to all of her friends.
All of their pages. Yeah.
Her page, and then to all their friends.
Oh, that's what they mean.
Yeah, it's very cool.
I heard that on the Go Getter Call or the Leadership Call or something. Must have been Go Getter Call, and I didn't know that exactly. What that meant.
It was good.
So Tracy, Tracie, Tracy Root.
R-O-O-T. Go look at her page right now. You'll be impressed.
Yeah.
You heard it here, folks.
That's right.
It was worth being on those calls just to hear that idea.
I know. Could get you a lot of people. Anyway, great times, and we will let you guys get off before we get cut off.
Okay.
We're almost to the non-free point. So thank you so much.
See you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.